What's up guys, Jameson Rennie here with the Road Trip Angler. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pike Pro inflatable kayak from NRS. The NRS Pike is an inflatable kayak that is considered a sit-inside kayak. And what that means is that instead of sitting on top of the boat, you're actually going to be getting kind of inside this kayak. It's a very open cockpit, however, so it's not like you're thinking of the traditional touring style kayaks or whitewater kayaks where you're really tightly fitted into that cockpit area. This is still a very open concept and almost maybe a hybrid, if anything, between a sit inside and a sit on top. But first I want to go over some of the specs of this boat, and then I want to get into what makes this the Pro version versus the standard Pike. The Pike Pro, or Pike Pro 126, is 12 feet 8 inches long, it's 38 inches wide, and it weighs around 48 pounds. It also has a capacity of 375 pounds, and at 220 with gear, I could say that I can vouch for that pretty confidently. I didn't feel like we were weighting this boat down at all the times that I have fished out of it, but I will say I also haven't put a ton of gear in it to do overnight trips. I do carry my black pack, and I have all my tackle in there, plus my rods, myself, and a little bit of equipment. And that probably is pushing that 300-pound range, and it feels just rock solid stable. And I'm very confident that 375 is probably very accurate, if not conservative, when it comes to weighting this boat down. It also comes with a pump and a backpack, a patch kit, and the frame seat, along with all the accessories that come on the Pro version. But the seat, the backpack, the pump, the patch kit, and the boat are all standard in the Pike inflatable kayak from NRS. The Pro comes with the YakAttack accessories and the paddle. If you don't have a truck bed or you don't have a trailer, this is a great option for you because it packs down into the provided backpack that comes with the package, and you can put it in the trunk of a car or even the back seat. The construction is a pretty durable PVC construction, and I get a lot of questions about fishing from inflatable boats. When I tell people that I actually really like fishing from inflatable kayaks, especially in certain situations, they're concerned about punctures and hooks getting caught in it, and that it doesn't really make sense if you're going to have these sharp hooks or fish with sharp fins, or you're fishing around things like rocks or debris or even oysters that could hurt this boat. But honestly, I don't really see that as a problem. I've done it for several years now. I've never got a hook punctured in one of these boats. People have been fishing out of inflatable watercraft like rafts for a very long time, and this is made essentially the same way. Not to say that you couldn't get a hook caught in it, but I think that it's very unlikely, and it's also very easy to patch if you do. What makes this a fishing kayak is that it does come with some accessories, and it comes with some design features that are very specific to kayak fishing, like the YakAttack switch pads and the YakAttack switch mounts that come on this boat. But to get back to the difference between the standard 126 Pike and the Pike Pro is that the Pike Pro comes in a unique color with some unique accessories to this version versus the standard Pike. The difference in price between the standard Pike and the Pike Pro, it goes from $13.95 to $17.95. But I think that that is completely justified when you take a look at what you're gonna get that makes that difference. The kayak is made up of 3 chambers. You have these 2 outside tubes and then a floor that is very rigid. The floor can actually be inflated a little bit more to around 8 PSI, and it has this drop stitch technology which allows you to inflate it to that higher capacity, but also gives it a lot of rigidity so you can actually stand in this boat and move around, and it feels very stiff. The 2 tubes on the outer sides can be inflated to 3 PSI, and they're what's going to give you that stability and really allow the boat to float nicely on top of the water. To start with, on the front you have a nice handle, and one of the things that I really like on the bottom side of the kayak, it cuts into the water very sharply, and there's actually this kind of reinforced nose or keel on the front of the boat to where when you hit things, or if you're going to have a friction point, you're dragging the boat, whatever, that spot is a little more protected and has kind of a hard plastic piece over it to resist just abrasions and things like that. because essentially that is probably going to come into contact with things a lot more than any other part of the boat. We have these D-rings, or what your bungee is laced through, and your bungee can be moved around, and you can also use those D-rings to attach other types of straps and gear to the boat. Coming back, one of my favorite things about both of these inflatable kayaks, both the Pike Pro and the CTRATUF, is that you have foot pegs or foot braces. Most kayak anglers start out kayaking and they were anglers first, and they don't really know or have a lot of technique when it comes to the kayaking side of things. I was one of those, but I quickly learned some technique, and one of the key things is to be able to utilize your core when you're paddling so that you're more efficient when you're out on the water and you're less tired and less sore at the end of the day, so you can maximize that time. You really need the foot pegs to be able to brace to do this, especially if you're going to be in moving water and you're going to be trying to transition and move this boat around, turn it and whatnot when you're going down any kind of rapids or trying to get into tight places. I love having foot pegs or braces in a kayak. I think it is something that gets overlooked, and the fact that I have those in an inflatable kayak is awesome. You also notice on either side of the tubes here and in between the foot braces that you have that YakAttack switch pad, and essentially that gives you kind of 4 bolt patterns or 1/4-20 bolt patterns, and it is designed to take the YakAttack switch mount, which will screw right into there, and on the Pro you get 5 of those mounts. So you have 5 switch pads and you have 5 of the switch mounts. In addition to those mounts, you also get an assortment of YakAttack accessories, and these are some of the more popular accessories. You're gonna get the cup holder, the roto grip, which is gonna allow you to kind of secure that paddle blade, especially when you're fighting a fish and you just want a quick place to lock that in so that you can fight the fish with both hands. You also get a couple of the Omega Pro rod holders, which are gonna be universal whether you're fly fishing, conventional fishing with either a bait caster or a spinning setup. And those work really well and can be mounted in any of the 5 locations throughout. In addition to those YakAttack accessories, the Pro also comes with the YakAttack Black Pack Pro, which is a new black pack from YakAttack. Comes standard with 4 rod holders already mounted to it. One more thing you're gonna get is the NRS paddle. Now, I've been paddling for bending branches for a long time, and I can admit that I am spoiled when it comes to high-end lightweight paddles. All my paddles have a carbon fiber shaft and either carbon blades or some type of combination of fiberglass, carbon, or a carbon nylon type blade. And I choose different ones from every different type of situation that I'm in. But this boat comes with NRS's own paddle that's a 240 centimeter paddle, which I feel like is the perfect size for this boat and my style of paddling, which is a little bit more high angle. And it's actually a pretty nice paddle. I am used to paddling with higher end bending branches paddles. I'm used to the lighter weight materials, and this paddle does feel a little heavy to me compared to the others. However, it does feel very durable, and I feel like for the value that you're getting in this Pike Pro package, it's a very nice paddle, and it's definitely by no means a low end paddle. It's just not as light as some of the paddles I'm used to paddling. And if you're gonna be using this boat a lot and paddling a lot, you may wanna think about upgrading that particular piece of gear. But I think for the value of this Pike Pro package, that paddle is actually a very nice piece of gear, and it's by no means what I would consider to be a low-end paddle. I would put it in that mid-range and say that it's, you know, it's a pretty good paddle. Now, if you've seen the CUDA 126 review I did, you know that it comes with the measuring board, and I see that here again on the Pike and the Pike Pro. You also get that EVA pad that's gonna do a couple of things. It's just gonna give you that extra layer of protection against punctures, but it also gives you some traction under your foot when the boat gets wet. Moving back a bit, you'll see that we have this frame seat. It can be folded down flat and pretty compact. This seat is pretty comfortable though. I spent several hours in it, and I have actually fished out of this seat on other kayaks from NRS for quite some time, so I'm very familiar with this seat, and it's pretty much the same on both the CUDA version, which is the sit on top, and the Pro, or the Pike Pro here, which is the sit inside. The seat can also be adjusted a little bit forward and aft. Again, it's 4 straps, and you have a little bit of room to move that around, so as you load this boat down, you can kind of dial in that sweet spot. You're gonna get the standard bungee on the back as well, along with D-rings kind of lining both sides of the tank well area here. So you can move those bungees around, or you can add straps, carabiners, whatever you need to strap things around and move them around back here. And then again on the back, you'll have another handle. Underneath the boat on the hull, you'll see that it has a fin box, and this is really important when it comes to tracking. As I mentioned before, inflatable kayaks sit on top of the water and not in the water like a standard kayak. So when it comes to tracking without a fin, it's not going to be that fun. In other words, when you go to make that paddle stroke, the boat is going to want to turn quite a bit, and you're going to be fighting that back and forth. Whereas having a fin installed in that fin box is going to really help you with tracking. It's also going to help you stay locked in and kind of point it in one direction and not allow the wind to blow you around as easily. The fin that comes with the boat is what NRS calls the all-water fin, which again hangs down probably around 4 or 5 inches below the boat. It keeps it locked in pretty good. This fin is ideal in most situations, especially when you're in ponds, lakes, more open water where you're trying to cover some distance. However, I really like to fish inflatable kayaks in the rivers. And the rivers around my house can be shallow in a lot of areas, and I find that this fin, while it's still only sticking down from the boat a few inches, is slightly too long. So I have opted to switch most of mine out to what they call the whitewater fin shape, which is quite a bit smaller and only sticks down a couple of inches versus probably pushing 5 inches from the all water. Now, if you're going to be inflating and deflating this boat a lot, just like the other inflatable boat from NRS or any inflatable boat, I think it is worth investing in an electric pump so that you can be doing other things when you get to the water, like getting your fishing tackle together and ready while the boat is being inflated, and you're not having to work as hard. But the pump that comes with this boat is kind of they call it the 2 HP. I don't know if that stands for horsepower or because it has 2 different settings, but it has a high airflow setting, which will allow you to get a lot of volume or a lot of air into this space very quickly. And when you get closer to those 3 PSI and 8 PSI in the deck, you can kind of flip that over, and it has a separate setting to dial it in for that last little bit of getting that air pressure in there. One word of advice when it comes to any inflatable kayak is that when you're not using it, do not leave it inflated to that max PSI. And even when you are using it, you don't have to go all the way to that max. And the reason I'm saying that is, if it's cool in the morning and you inflate that to those max ratings, and then the sun comes out, that boat is gonna expand, and it could cause a problem. It does come with a patch kit, and I recommend getting a small hand pump and carrying that with you, and you can actually make that patch while you're out on the water or while you're out fishing, pump it back up and get right back into it. And the fact that it has 3 separate sections or tubes or chambers allows it to keep you afloat even if one of the chambers starts to leak. For you, if this is something that you're going to do occasionally and you need a boat that you can store, this is still a very high quality option to get you a really nice kayak that can be rigged with a lot of features. Get that total package kind of ready to hit the water. All you have to do is grab a PFD or a life jacket and go hit the water as it comes right out of the box with that Pike Pro package. I tend to use these boats in river situations or in smaller lakes and ponds where I'm always going to be pretty close to the shoreline. Where I wouldn't recommend using an inflatable is if you're spending a lot of time in bigger lakes or bigger offshore scenarios. For more information about this boat, we are going to put the link in the description to NRS's website so you can see where to maybe purchase one or look at all the specs. In addition to that, we're also going to be doing videos on the sit on top version, which is the CUDA 126, and we'll be comparing these boats to each other and these inflatable watercraft to a hard shell or more traditional fishing kayak and talk about those differences. So check the description, check out our YouTube channel at the Road Trip Angler, and you'll get all those videos. For more tips and tricks, be sure to subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching. Road Trip Angler would like to thank our global partners for helping support the mission to get people outside and on the water.